Good afternoon from Smith School of Business at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario. I'm Julia Lefebvre of Smith Business Insight, and I'm pleased to welcome you to this webinar on AI and analytics for small business, led by Dr. Stephen Thomas. Before we get to the presentation, I'd like to go over some logistical questions you may have. First, today's session will be recorded, and you will receive that recording in 2 to 3 business days. We invite you to share it with any of your colleagues who can't join us today. Next, we encourage you to share Smith Business Insight with your network. We have a simple newsletter sign-up form at the web address on your screen. After you sign up, you will receive monthly newsletters which include invitations to register for webinars. It is always free to join our webinars. If you have a question while you're listening to today's presentation, please go ahead and ask it at any time. There's no need to wait until the end. I invite you to use the Q&A or chat panel located in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Just type in your question. Dr. Thomas will answer your questions at the end of today's session. As far as technical difficulties go, the most common issue is that of audio dropping out. Please understand that if you lose audio, it's likely only a momentary problem. Wait a couple of seconds and it will probably come back on its own. If not, please use your chat window to contact me and I will provide you with a phone number you can call in and follow along. Now it is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Stephen Thomas. Dr. Thomas is Director of both the Master of Management Analytics and Master of Management in Artificial Intelligence programs here at Smith School of Business. He's an adjunct faculty member who holds PhD, MSc, and BSc degrees in computer science. His main areas of interest are databases, data analytics, and natural language processing. Dr. Thomas's research has been published widely, and he is a recipient of the Scotiabank Scholar Research Grant. Before entering the world of academia, Dr. Thomas ran a tech startup in big data. He consults with several large companies in areas of big data, text analytics, and AI. So clearly you are in very good hands. Now, let's turn it over to Dr. Stephen Thomas for today's presentation.
Thank you, Julia, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. I hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to talk about how small businesses can apply some of the techniques in analytics and AI to make their lives better, increase their business, and overall gain a competitive advantage in the marketplace. So why don't we get started? So everyone's heard of some very popular, success stories in AI from the big tech companies of the world, self-driving cars from Tesla and Google. Even Apple is getting in on the game, using AI to drive these cars all over the place. Big companies are developing AI to beat humans at hard-to-play games like chess and Go. Everyone has personal assistants on their phone now, Siri, Alexa, Google Home. They actually work really, really well. There's some advanced research in video and computer vision to create what are called deep fakes, where essentially you can place Nicolas Cage's face on any character in any movie, thereby enhancing that movie. Just joking. But basically, a lot of big companies and very advanced researchers are pushing the boundaries of AI over the last few years. And in fact, in the last few years, there's been an incredible boom of both analytics and AI. But what is AI? The way I like to define it is it's a computer's ability to either make decisions or to predict something. Or another way to say it, it's a computer's ability to know things, plan things, learn things, see things, speak, or move around the world. So basically, trying to do what humans already are born to do. Analytics is basically a process of turning data into decisions. So analytics isn't a thing, it's a process performed by humans. So humans do analytics. While they do it, they may use artificial intelligence tools or other tools in order to make decisions from data. You can see from that bottom graph there, that's the Google trend, Google search trends for each of the terms since 2004. Analytics kind of took off in 2009, 2010 timeframe, and it's kind of maintained since then. Artificial intelligence, even though it's been around since the 1940s, it saw a huge boom around 2017, mostly due to the fact that companies now have easier access to data, easier access to really fast computers, and a couple of key advances in artificial intelligence algorithms. A lot of the media and a lot of people talk about AI as if it's one thing, but really the way I like to look at AI is it's 6 separate disciplines that are related in some ways, but their goals are very different. The 6 that I like to talk about are knowing, which is called knowledge reasoning. This is when an algorithm tries to just ingest a bunch of facts and then infer logical conclusions from that fact. So for example, if I told the computer that all Canadians love hockey, and then I also told the computer that Bob is a Canadian, then the computer should infer that Bob loves hockey. The second discipline is called planning. So this is when an algorithm is given some start state and an ideal end state and a series of actions that are possible, and it needs to come up with a plan to go from the start state to the end state. An example of this is Google Maps. With Google Maps, you might be starting at home, you're trying to get to the airport, and there's a million different paths to get there. There's weather considerations and traffic and tolls and all these kinds of factors. And so the algorithm needs to just make a plan that maximizes some objective. Machine learning is probably the most popular subdiscipline of AI, especially in business. Machine learning is all about trying to build a computer program not by handcrafted rules, but instead by historical data. So the machine will learn rules automatically as opposed to a human having to program the rules directly. Computer vision is all about trying to get a computer to see and understand images and videos. Popular examples include facial recognition or object detection for self-driving cars, things like that. Natural language processing is trying to get computers to understand human language. So humans often want to interact more naturally with computers. Humans evolved over time to talk to each other in natural language, and that's how we think, and that's how we prefer to communicate. So natural language processing is all about trying to understand speech and text and what a human is trying to say. And then finally, robotics is the last subdiscipline of AI, and this is a discipline all about building the hardware and software robots to move around the world, complete tasks that are either too dangerous for humans or too repetitive for humans or too precise for humans. So a lot of advances there as well. In fact, Canada is punching way above its weight in terms of AI advances. And here's a chart from a company in Montreal called Element AI. And they make this chart every year. They call it the Canadian AI ecosystem. And basically it's just showing at a very high level all the things that are happening in Canada in the AI world. It's in the outer ring there, it's showing for each city all the companies and startups that exist in the AI world. And then the second inner ring is of all the academic labs, like the Vector Institute in Toronto, AMIA in Montreal, and so on, that are centered around AI. And then on the inner ring is VC funds, startup incubators, and things like that. So the point of the chart is just there's a lot of activity, a lot going on, a lot of research. It's a very exciting place to be. In fact, many countries now have an official national AI strategy, and Canada was the first country to declare one. back in March 2017 when Justin Trudeau's government put $150 million a year on the table to advance AI research in Canada. In the business world, there have been a lot of success stories thus far of using AI and analytics to enhance their business. So here's just a very small sample of examples. First, financial service companies, loan startups, and all these kinds of businesses need to figure out who is creditworthy and who is not. And so AI has been applied to try to predict whether someone is going to repay their loan or not for many years, but it's gotten better and better using advanced AI technologies. Fraud detection is useful for credit card companies who want to detect whether an individual credit card swipe is fraudulent or not in real time. Banks and law enforcement officers are also working together to try to predict fraud rings or try to detect fraud rings based on transaction histories and anomalies and things like that. Hospitals are starting to use AI to predict patients' health. Are they at risk at receiving or obtaining, disease X, or are they at risk of decreasing in their stability and their heart rate and at time Y, things like this. The LA Police Department famously used AI to try to predict crime. It actually went really bad in the end, but that's not because of the AI algorithm. It was more on how they deployed it, but I'll save that story for another time. Amazon and JD.com in China, they're starting to build warehouses full of AI robots that can move around and fulfill orders automatically. And there's even been some talk of having AI drones deliver packages. The U.S. Postal Service famously did this last week. I keep waiting for my pizza to be delivered by a drone. I've been told it's coming, still waiting, but I'm sure it'll happen sooner or later. Google is probably the most successful company of using AI in their web ad placement. So Google has an algorithm to predict whether you will click on an advertising link. And the algorithm is so good, it will predict very well, and therefore Google shows you very relevant ads, and therefore you click on the ads, and therefore Google makes billions of dollars a day. But there's a lot of other examples. I could keep going all day, but the point of this talk isn't all the success stories at Megacorp. The point of the talk is how you, a small business owner, might be able to get into it. There are a few challenges, however, for small businesses to apply analytics and AI. The first, and probably the biggest, is this budget. Whereas the Megacorp is going to have millions of dollars a year dedicated to software and training, you might be able to scrap together maybe a few thousand. Huge difference. On the skill side, big businesses have teams of 200-plus data scientists and data engineers, and they have lofty goals of doubling this team over the course of the next 12 months. Where you have nobody, and maybe one of your workers took a stats course 15 years ago, and that's about all you have to work with. On the tool side, big businesses have all the tools. They have the latest from Microsoft Azure, Amazon's AWS. They have SQL Server, Tableau, Databricks. They use it all. Software is not a barrier for them. Where you have none of that software, and if you looked hard, you might be able to find an Excel 2004 copy on the Mac in your closet. Training. So big companies now dedicate 4 or more weeks per year per person to go and learn and train on advanced analytics and AI tools and capabilities and methodologies. You don't have any time. You're running your business. You're just trying to stop it from dying tomorrow. And big businesses, they have lofty goals for next year in their AI and analytics efforts, such as hyperparameter optimization, transfer learning, large-scale deployment, basically taking what they have and making it even better. Where you don't have any of that. Again, you're just focusing on not going out of business tomorrow. You don't really have a focus for your analytics programs. And then finally, the needs of a megacorp are a little bit different from your needs. A megacorp, they need scalability. They need to be able to deploy analytics and AI to thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. They need robustness. They absolutely can't afford a single error ever. And they need full automation. They have very complicated processes that happen thousands of times a day, and it just has to be fully automated. Where for you, your focus is on running your day-to-day business operations, not on your analytics. So you need an analytics and AI solution that is simple, cheap, and again, very simple, because you don't have the skills or the training or the tools. So those are some of the challenges. There are some silver linings, however. Small businesses, in a way, have a few advantages over megacorp. The first silver lining is that the overall objective and the overall goal of any analytics project is actually the same. In both cases, what you want to know is you just want to understand your customer, you want to save some time and some costs, and you want to increase your revenue. So you're actually aligned with megacorps on that. And that's good. That's good for you because any advances in tools and technology that are made for megacorp in mind will also apply to you. IT infrastructure, you actually have an advantage here, most likely, believe it or not, because megacorp has this old legacy, horrible to work with IT infrastructure, with a bunch of old mainframes and software from the 1970s that no one wants to touch. Where you don't have any of that baggage. You can do whatever you want. You can throw it all away and start from scratch. Megacorp also, not all of them, I'm speaking in generalities here, but many of them will have a lot of difficult process. There'll be a lot of red tape and bureaucracy and order forms and RFPs necessary, where you as a small business owner, you can just do whatever you want. And similar to that, megacorp, a lot of big companies have very low risk tolerance. They have hundreds of thousands of employee mouths to feed. They have shareholders. They have business as usual that's been working. They don't want to mess with all that with with some risky AI, quote unquote. Where you got nothing to lose basically. You can take big risks on some technology, and you don't have to go through a lot of process and convince a lot of people. So that's the good news. So with that in mind, let's talk about what AI can actually do for you. So the first kind of class of capabilities that AI can provide small businesses is just boosting your business. It can boost your business by helping you to, first of all, know who your top customers are and what they do. How often do they purchase? When do they purchase? What do they purchase? Who are they? You know, as funny as it sounds, a lot of companies, a lot of small businesses just simply do not know this. I know my local pharmacy right by my house that I purchase my medications at. When I go to the cash register and to check out, I see the cashier manually type in the price of the item, $54.99, and then I give them the money, and then I walk away. They don't know who made that purchase. They don't even know what the purchase was for. They're not tracking any of this. So AI is this is one of the things that AI can help you with. It can also help you with knowing which customers are about to leave. So it will tell you, oh no, here's some top customers, but here are some warning signs that we've seen. They are at risk to either stop coming or go to a competitor, moving, something like this. It'll also help you predict how much money each individual customer will spend in their lifetime. And this can be very helpful. You know, if you have two customers and one is likely to spend a great deal and the other is not, you can better prioritize your service levels for each customer. It can help you figure out the best sales and offers to make. You know, it's always, everyone knows that promotions and sales work, but there are an infinite number of variations of sales and promotions. So how do you know which exact promotion, which item should you put a sale on and how much? AI can help you figure that out. It'll also help you programmatically market to the best possible market for your business. What does that mean? That means basically it'll help you send automated emails, ads, offers to the customers who are most likely to respond. So it'll help you save not only the time in creating this marketing material and sending it out, but it'll also help you send it to the right people. So you're not spending a lot of money sending material and offers and ads to people who are very unlikely to respond. AI can help you build a recommender system. So just like Amazon will recommend products, people who bought this also bought that, you can incorporate that into your own business. And you can look at trends and patterns of what previous customers have bought in which orders and in what combinations, and use that to find lookalike customers in the future and help them to follow the same path. If you have a physical brick-and-mortar retail store, you can use analytics and AI to best arrange your shelf. You could put products that are frequently purchased together, close together, so that customers who buy one product and forget to buy the other, they'll be reminded by the physical closeness, and they'll just see it. So there's a bunch, many more examples, but those are just examples of how to boost your business. AI can also help you save time and cost. There's a few different ways to do this. And one of the a more popular up-and-coming way is with an AI-based chatbot. So if you find yourself spending a lot of time answering routine questions from your customers, you can easily deploy a chatbot on your website or via SMS or your app to answer maybe 20, 30% of the most common questions. And they're easy to deploy, easy to train, and they can save you a lot of time. And they're also very flexible in that if the chatbot doesn't know the answer, it won't fail spectacularly and embarrass you. It'll just say, excuse me, let me go get the human, and it'll switch it over. So the idea is it'll be kind of a first line of defense to answer common questions, and for anything more complicated or more creative, it'll transfer it over to you. Another nice application of AI is to help take notes in a conference call. So there's some tools now that can sit in on a conference call with you and your customers, and instead of you trying to both participate in the conference call and do the selling and problem solving and take notes and figure out who needs to follow up on what, there's a bunch of AI tools that can do that for you. So they will not only track everything that is said by whom and when, but also it is able to extract to-dos and action items, dates and times, amounts, and then it'll send a nice summary to all the participants automatically. And then finally, there's a whole class of AI tools coming out to help with the automation of repetitive tasks. And this is becoming so awesome that it has its own acronym called RPA, Robotic Process Automation. And there are whole teams and big businesses of RPA experts who will go around to all the business units to try to find opportunities. But the technology and the tools exist for any size business. So the possibilities are infinite on what you can automate, but you can think of simple things like, say, creating a new customer account takes you 4 or 5 steps, 4 or 5 clicks. You have to enter something in Excel and then something on a web-based tool and then something in an email. Then you can build an RPA automation bot to do all of that for you. So with one button, it will create an account, and it'll talk to all the systems that it needs to talk to. It'll follow up as necessary. So it could end up saving you a couple minutes per task, but if you do things repetitively, it can really add up. And not only in time, but also just in mental strain and mental effort. So that's just kind of a sample of what AI can do. Let's talk a little bit about how to get started down this road. So the basic recipe is, first, you have to start with the basic ingredients. The raw ingredients of AI and analytics is data. So you need to start collecting data, if you're not already, on every single customer interaction that you have, whether that interaction is a phone call, a chat log, a transaction, probably the most important. So anytime a customer buys something from you, a good or a service. But you can even make it more advanced with what did the customer come into your store or not, things like that. So you need to start storing this data. There's a lot of great tools to store this data for you. For example, there's Salesforce. It's probably the biggest one to kind of just keep track of what's going on. And then once you have that raw ingredient, you can use any of several cloud-based platforms to do any of the things that I just mentioned. So there's 4 big cloud providers in play today. There's many more, but these are the 4 biggest. There's Amazon, and they have a product suite called Amazon Web Services. Microsoft has one called Microsoft Azure. Google has Google Cloud, and IBM has IBM Cloud. And they have more or less the same capabilities. They're competing with each other heavily to offer businesses of all sizes products and analytics and AI. Here in this table, I've listed some of the main tools that you might be interested in. There's actually a lot more, but I didn't want to confuse you too much. But the big point here is once you have your data collected, you can use off-the-shelf cloud-based tools to do the analytics that I mentioned. There's a lot of advantages to using the cloud. First of all, the cloud has a pay-as-you-go, almost like a rental-type business model, where if you only have 10 customers, you're only going to be paying for 10 customers worth of cloud services. And as you scale to 100, then you'll start to pay for 100. But you don't have to buy a big server and a big license right up at the top. Second, you don't have to buy any hardware. You don't have to know anything about IT infrastructure and internet and networking and all these technical concepts. The cloud providers handle all of that for you, and you just create an account, rent what you need, and you can interact with all of these services through your web browser. And I have some screenshots on the next few slides, but they're very easy to use, very easy to understand. And then third, they scale very well. So as your business grows and you want to do more and more and more with your analytics and AI effort, these cloud services were built to do just that. They'll scale from 1 customer to 10 to 10 million seamlessly. Your bill will increase, of course, but hopefully your revenues will support that. So let's just look at some examples. So here's an example dashboard that you might get at one of these tools, showing kind of some trends about your customers. So saying how many new customers you had this month, how many you were able to upsell, how much churn you had, and kind of this bottom graph is showing a trend line over time. So the details of these charts that I'm going to show you aren't the important bit. The important bit is this is how easy the tools are to use once you get the data in the right format. So you can have a customer's dashboard. You can have an inventory dashboard showing what's in the warehouse, where is it located, how much is left, how much have you spent, how much have you saved, things like that. You can have a customer engagement dashboard. So this might show you, if you have a website or an app that people are using, this will show you how many sign-ons there are over time, where are they coming from, in terms of location, what kind of browsers are they using, things like this. You can have a sales dashboard showing you which products you've sold the most of over time. For any given day, what was your top selling product, second, third, fourth, fifth, or you can organize it by supplier or by day or by store region. So very simple tools just to help you understand your product sales. Here's an example chatbot. So chatbots, I'm sure you've used a chatbot on somebody else's business by now. They're becoming more and more popular, and they're simple to use, but they're very simple to deploy, and I highly encourage you to think about deploying them because they're super easy to train. I would say in a weekend of hard work, you can get a chatbot out and then save yourself time for years to come. And then as you get more and more comfortable with your analytics and AI capabilities, you can start to get a little bit more advanced. So here's an example screenshot of how you would use Microsoft Azure to build your own custom machine learning model. And I know for a lot of you that sounds like a dream that will never happen, but it's actually not that hard. Once you have the data in the right place, you can drag and drop a few of these boxes around, and it'll start to make some real-time predictions for you, like predicting in real time who's going to leave, what top 5 customers are most risk at leaving this month, things like that. So this is where you could end up in just a few months or a year if you kind of start down this road. So the key takeaways from this talk that I want you to go home with today is, there's been a lot of AI advances in recent years that can help businesses of any size see, hear, talk, move, and plan better. But most importantly, they're able to help you understand your customers more. They help you boost your business, and they help you save time. Second is, I just want to emphasize that even though AI is mostly used today by Megacorp and other big businesses, they can still very much apply to small businesses. In fact, the needle will probably be moved even more in the small business setting as you go from no analytics and AI to some analytics and AI. And then finally, incorporating analytics and AI tools is much easier than you think, especially with some cloud-based tools that exist today. All you really need to do is start collecting data, and there are many tools to help you do this. And once you do, you can use any of these cloud vendors to start prototyping some dashboards to get customer understanding, and then move into more advanced AI machine learning capabilities. Okay, with that, I am happy to take some questions from the audience. Okay, first question. Where do you get the dashboards that you mentioned? So the dashboards that I showed you, the specific dashboard screenshots that I showed you, they came from demos and marketing material from the cloud-based vendors that I showed you. I think most of them came from Microsoft Azure. But in general, dashboards are created by you, the small business owner. You can just drag and drop to kind of create the dashboard, and it'll show whatever you want to show. If you want to see trend lines of sales, or if you want to see a bar chart of new customers or anything like this, they're very simple drag and drop tools that you can create on your own. Okay, next question is, does this mean that the business does not require experts within their team, as the cloud-based systems provides full service, including access to such experts? That's a good question. Yes, what I'm trying to say here is you do not need experts on your team to get these tools going. And that's the good news. You don't need to go hire a bunch of data scientists and data engineers to get some of these simple dashboards going. Now, if you find yourself just incredibly strapped for time, or you're just very, very scared of technology, and you feel hopeless, then there are experts that you can outsource to or rent and consult with. These cloud-based vendors do have them. There's also a bunch of third parties, and I bet there's some local startups in your region as well that for maybe 10, 20 hours of consulting time can kind of get this all set up for you. So I would say the average person is very capable of setting this up themselves, but for those of you who just don't want to or can't for whatever reason, there are plenty of consulting services that will set it up for you. Okay, next question. What are the questions we should ask prospective technology vendors to make sure they understand the scope of our needs? Yeah, that's a good question. Basically, you should have very specific use cases in mind of what you'd want to see and whatever makes sense for your business, and you ask them directly, will you support this use case? So let's say, for example, you're a candy store in downtown Kingston, and what you really want to know is, first of all, what is my foot traffic? When are people walking into my store? Second of all, what are my top 3 candies that I sell, candy types? Third, who are my customers that I sell the most to? Do I sell to kids, teenagers, grandma and grandpa? So if you have those 3 kind of business questions that you want to answered on a daily basis, then that's exactly what you should ask the technology vendor. You say, "This is what I want to know. Can you help me get there?" Would you have some recommended self-learning resources? Absolutely, yes. And in fact, I would recommend going to these cloud vendors directly. So for example, back to Microsoft Azure. And not that I'm a Microsoft Azure sales guy. We just happen to use Azure here at Smith, so I'm very familiar with it. But they have an incredible amount of resources available to help you learn on your own. They even have what they call an AI school. So it's like a couple-hour business school for someone who's never even heard of AI. It has walkthroughs of all their tools and products. They have really, really good resources. And so do the other cloud platforms like Google and Amazon. So if you go there, if you just literally go to Microsoft Azure's webpage, and there'll be a resources link, and there'll be training and how-to guides, I would start there. Next question. You gave a lot of examples of tools and software available. What specific tools and software are taught in the MMAI program? Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a 12-month master's program on AI called MMAI. The program is tool agnostic. However, most professors in the program use Python or R programming languages. And we have a series of workshops throughout the year, optional workshops for students who want to learn Python and R. We also subscribe to an online resource called udemy.com for our students, which has a lot of Python tutorials and classes. And then professors will actually spend a little bit of time in class teaching Python concepts as well, and R. So those are the 2 main tools. We also have other tools available, such as SAS. We also have Microsoft Azure, like I mentioned earlier. And on Azure, we use Databricks, which is a Spark platform. And we also use their Machine Learning Studio. Next question. Where do you see small businesses typically go wrong when trying to leverage AI? That's a good question. Where they go wrong is they don't do anything. That's the biggest problem. Is they think, I'm just a small business owner selling candy. I know nothing about AI. I don't need AI. It has nothing to do with me. It's only applicable for self-driving cars and chess bots. That's probably the biggest misconception, is that AI is something out of reach, too complicated, not applicable. When I see small businesses actually getting started and trying, it's very rare that I see them fall flat in their face and just do the wrong thing. Because once you get started, sure, you'll have to make tweaks and adjustments, and you'll realize you could do even better. But the real value is once you get the data in the right format and you start tracking it, you get so much more insight to what's happening in your business. Okay, next question. Where do you see the biggest benefit of AI for smaller firms? Is it in improving our processes, serving our customers, marketing, or analyzing data? That's a good question. I hate to sound like a professor. I would say it depends. It depends on what you're good at already and what you're bad at. If you're already really good at marketing, or let's say you already know exactly who your target market is, and you already communicate very effectively to them, then AI might help you a little bit, make incremental gains, but it's not going to fundamentally change your marketing process. Or, you may have a very simple business on the operations side that just does not have a lot of complicated processes, and so AI automation tools won't save you that much time in that case. So it kind of just depends. It depends on where your biggest pain points are now. If you're bad at all of them, they'll help you on all of them, and you'll probably see the biggest improvement in probably, I would say, understanding your customers. Back to that pharmacy that's right around the corner for me, every time I go in there, it just boggles my mind that they have no idea who is buying what, when, how, and why. They have no insight, so they can't do any analytics. They have no way to predict what's going to happen. The owners probably think they understand it, because they've been in the business for a long time, and they're there on a day-to-day basis and watching. And that's true to a certain extent. But I would challenge that once they actually kept track of the data and looked at the trends and compared that to what they thought was going on, it would be pretty different. That's a good question, but the answer just depends. Okay, next question. In your opinion, what are the first steps that small and medium-sized enterprises should take to leverage their readiness to thrive in an increasingly AI-driven entrepreneurial ecosystem? That's a well-worded question. All right. The first steps should be collecting the data. Assuming you're already, and by the data, just to expand on that again, I mean everything that happens with a customer, every transaction, every time they buy something, you should keep track of, not only was it sold, but who was it sold to? When was it sold? How much did I sell it for? Were there any promotions going on? What was the weather outside? The more data you can collect about that transaction, the better. So once you start collecting those transaction data and anything else you know about your customers, demographics such as age, occupation, where they live, do they have a family, these kind of things, collect the data. That's the first place to start. Assuming you already have that, the next place to start, I would say, is in basic descriptive analytics. And by descriptive analytics, I mean dashboards and reports just summarizing what happened. What were your sales last month? What were your top selling products? Who were your top customers? What days of the week are your top sales on? What are your trends? Are they trending up, trending down? Things like that. Descriptive analytics, if you're not doing it already, will greatly transform how you understand your business. They're the lowest hanging fruit and the most important fruit. After descriptive analytics, then you can move into predictive analytics, which uses AI and machine learning. This is when you can start to predict what's going to happen in the future. Which customers are going to leave in the future? How many products am I going to sell next month? These kind of questions. Okay, next question. How much of AI is involved in the MMA program? That's a good question. So yes, as Julia said, I'm the director of two programs we have at Smith, the MMA, Master of Management Analytics, and the MMAI, Master of Management Artificial Intelligence. There is overlap between the two, but they are different. So the MMA program is a broader program that covers more ground, including AI. There's a course called Machine Learning and AI in the MMA program. But it also covers additional topics such as big data, data modeling, SQL, pricing analytics, things like this. The AI program, it covers fewer concepts in total, but each concept it covers goes into greater detail. So it focuses less on descriptive analytics, dashboards, data modeling, and big data, these kind of things, and instead it focuses more on machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning, and these kind of topics. So there is definitely some AI in the MMA program, but there will be more in the MMAI program. So it's a trade-off. It's a zero-sum game of how much is covered in each program. Okay, last question of the day. In my organization, there is a lot of qualitative digital data. What would be the best way to get started? Ooh, that's a good question. So by qualitative digital data, I'm guessing you mean text from customers, customer stories or customer interviews, things like that. So assuming that's correct, Yeah, so this is right up my alley. This is where you could use natural language processing techniques, which is one of those subsets of AI, to extract information from that text. So you can extract key words, key phrases. You could extract topics, like what are they talking about in general? Is it sports or news? You could extract structured information, like if somebody said Steve Thomas was born in New Mexico, then there are tools to extract that relationship. You know, Steve Thomas is an entity, New Mexico is a place, and Steve was born in that place. So I would look, in general, I'd recommend looking into natural language processing tools to analyze this data for you. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention is you can look at sentiment analysis and tone of your customer's voice. So are they using positive, happy, friendly language? Are they angry, mad, or sad? And even they could be mad or sad in the same sentence. They might say things like, I love the size of the screen, but I hate the battery life. So there are tools to help you extract these complicated relationships. But they all fall under the natural language processing umbrella.
All right. Well, that wraps us up for today. Thank you so much, Dr. Thomas, and thank you to everyone who submitted such interesting and thoughtful questions. Again, a copy of this recording will be emailed to you over the next couple of days, and we thank you for participating. Have a great afternoon.